How's the market? Should I sell now or wait until the spring? Should I buy now or wait for interest rates to go down? When do you think the rates are going to come down? What do you see happening in the next 12 months or so? And when do you think prices are going to go down? On a side note, I don't think they're going to go down. These are some of the questions that I get in pretty much my everyday life as a realtor here in Halifax. So in today's video, I'm going to share with you my predictions for the 2024 Halifax real estate market. And I'm not just going to give you my predictions, I'm also going to give you kind of the thought process of how I got to that conclusion so you can kind of see where my thoughts are at heading into the 2024 calendar year. It's important to note that if you ask 10 different real estate agents, you might get 10 different answers on where they think the market is going. And truthfully, nobody really has a crystal ball and nobody knows the answer. But these are my predictions for the 2024 calendar year in the Halifax real estate market based on some of the stats that we're seeing right now, what we're seeing in the market, and also some of the historical data as well. So I guess you could call it my best educated guess of what's coming in the next 12 months. Now, just before I get into it, if you're new here, my name's Andrew Stevens, and I've been a realtor in Halifax for 9.5 years. And if you want to be educated on the Halifax real estate market, then you're in the right place. So hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. And if you're thinking about making a move in Halifax, whether it's buying or selling in 2024, you can reach out to me anytime to chat about it in the Calendly link below my description at a time when it's convenient for you. So getting right into it, I'm going to start with interest rates because this is basically the metric that I'm using to base the rest of my predictions off of, especially those predictions of price and sales volume here in Halifax. So I'm going to predict that in 2024, the interest rates drop by 50 basis points. Honestly, I could see it being a little bit more, such as 75 basis points or maybe even 100, but I'm banking on the Bank of Canada being a little bit more conservative in their decreases going forward, and I'm thinking it's going to be 50 basis points decline in 2024. And I think what this is going to look like is going to be two drops, probably somewhere around the midpoint of the year, maybe June or July. And I think it'll be 25 basis points dropped each time. Over the last couple of months, I've been reading a lot of different forecasts from economists, and I've been listening to some presentations as well, such as one from Ben Tal at CIBC, who I really like. And the consensus generally seems to be that the rates are going to drop by 50 to 100 basis points in the 2024 year. And a lot of people are thinking it's going to be 75 basis points. But again, I'm going to lean on the side of caution on this one. I think the Bank of Canada is going to be a little bit more conservative, and I think it's going to be 50 basis points in 2024. All right, so let's move on to price points. And I feel like this is one that everybody wants to hear about. So I'm going to predict that in 2024, the Halifax home prices are going to increase by 4% or higher. And in terms of an average sale price, that would bring us from about 549 or 550,000 right now, all the way up to about $571,000 or more in the HRM. Historically speaking, from 1980 to 2020, so 40 years, the average sale price increase year over year in the HRM was sitting right around 5% per year as an average. Now, during this time frame, price points only went down year over year one time, and that was back all the way in 1994 to 1995, and they only went down a couple $100. Then fast forward to the pandemic, and we saw increases of about 15% in 2020, then about 26% in 2021, and then another 16% in 2022. And then in 2023, it came back to a much more modest increase of somewhere about 2.5 to 3%. Now, I believe that in 2024, we're going to get back to a much more modest and typical increase that we've been seeing on average over the years. So, again, 4% or higher. And a big reason that I think this is because the rates are going to start coming down at some point in 2024. At least that's what the general consensus seems to be. And once these rates come down, I believe a lot of buyers will get off the fence, putting more demand into our market. Buyer confidence will rise, and this will have upward pressure on pricing. And I don't really think that the interest rates have to come down all that much for this to happen. I think even with one drop of 25 basis points, the buyer confidence will rise and the buyer demand will rise almost immediately. And I think it'll have a very fast impact on our market in terms of the HRM. And the other factor that's affecting this prediction of the increase in price is the fact that we're likely going to see a big population increase again, which again is putting further buyer demand into our market, meaning there's going to be upward pressure on pricing as the market will be a lot more competitive on the buyer side of things. All right, so prediction number three, let's move along to sales. So this has nothing to do with price points. This is strictly the number of sales that we're seeing in the HRM next year in 2024. So I'm going to say that sales are going to rise by 8% or more in 2024. So that would put us up to about 5,150 sales in the HRM in 2024 versus we had just under about 4,800 sales in 2023. And in 2023, this number of just under 4,800 was the least amount of sales that we've seen in the HRM since 2014. So similar to my thoughts on price points, I feel like when the interest rates drop, it's going to increase the buyer demand, bringing more buyers into the market, which in turn will increase the number of sales that we're seeing in our marketplace. Now, my only reservation to this prediction is the fact that we might not have enough listings to kind of get this increase that I'm predicting. But I do think that the reality is, as the buyer demand increases, it'll have upward pressure on pricing, which will in turn encourage sellers to put their home back on the market. So, even though we're seeing more buyers in the marketplace, I believe this will also in turn create some more listings because of the upward pressure on pricing that I would predict. All right, now let's move on to the market conditions. I'm going to predict that in 2024, the market will remain in a seller's market and will stay under 3 months of listing inventory throughout the year in 2024. Now, this is pretty on par with what we've been seeing over the last few years. As most people know, it has been a seller's market with very little listing inventory. And in 2023, we ended up finishing the year at 2.5 months of listing inventory, which is more than we've seen over the previous few years during the pandemic. Now, when I'm looking at this prediction, what I'm really expecting is as the interest rates come down and the buyer demand goes up, this should in turn decrease our listing inventory. So I see it getting a little bit hotter throughout the midway point or into the fall of 2024. And even if we see a rise in listings in the midway point of the year or in the fall, I think that the increase in buyer demand will offset that. So I believe this will have us staying in a seller's market, so under 3 months of listing inventory throughout the course of 2024. Okay, so prediction number five, and last but certainly not least, is the rental market. I'm going to predict that the rental market is going to remain incredibly difficult for tenants. Now, this is the same prediction I've made over the last couple of years, and honestly, we could just copy and paste this prediction video into the next 5 or 10 years because I do not see the rental market changing anytime in the near future. Currently, we have a vacancy rate of less than 1% in Halifax. We're only building about 4,500 housing units across the province every year, and it's simply not enough. We're adding almost 8 people to the province for every 1 unit of housing that we're building, which is way too high. And honestly, I don't think this is fixable over the foreseeable future. I just simply don't think we can increase the supply enough to make a big enough impact to bring those rental prices down and to increase inventory to a level that would have it kind of in a buyer's market versus a landlord's market. So there you have it. There's my 5 predictions for 2024. And nearing the end of 2024, I'll review these and I'll make a video about it. So we'll double check and see how many I got right and how many I got wrong. And you can laugh at me all you want, but I'm curious to hear from you in the comments below. What do you think is going to happen in the Halifax real estate market in 2024? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? I'm curious to hear what you think. And if you're still here watching and you got any value out of this video, all I ask is that you hit that like button and you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of my future content. And that'll help push this out to more people like you who may be interested in seeing content about the Halifax real estate market. And until next time, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your support and have a great day.